Shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory. Slakia. I'd like to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekakodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Salutations to all the hopeful elect out there. Peace, blessing, and safety to you all. This is the brother Habadiah coming back at you with another one. And in this walk, you know, as we as things get, harder to deal with, we see what's going on in the economy. We see what's going on over there in America with the SNAP benefits. Just the price of everything is going up. Harder to find jobs. Just the things of this life. We're constantly being tested, and put to the test, put through the fire in order to obtain that crown, obtain salvation through Yahweh Shai. Our Lord is testing us. He's going to test his men, and also, the sincere sisters out there, are going to be tested as well. Especially, things are getting a little wild. You could see Jacob's trouble. You could see the blueprint for it. You could see it actually, things are happening. And things are going to get difficult. Things are going to get tough. There's a lot of talk about digital ID, and we know ultimately that leads to the MOTB, that hour of temptation. And we understand that, in this walk, in following Yahweh Shai, we're going to go through many trials, many tribulations. Some people think once you're a Hebrew Israelite, once you know the name Yahweh, which is the Father, and Yahweh Shai, which is the Son, that everything's going to be, like a walk in the park. It's going to be easy. This is that narrow path, that you know that narrow path, and not that wide that leads to destruction. This is that straight gate. So I want to start with Ecclesiasticus chapter 2. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in the time of trouble. We're gonna go through it. And I always, even with myself, when I find myself just going through, battle after battle and test after test, I just think of Job, because he was a man of integrity. Despite everything that he lost, he continued to endure and to give all praises to Yahweh Shem El Shai. And us of the hopeful elect, we are to do the same. Sometimes, we don't always understand what it is that we're going through, but we just know that, our Lord doesn't make mistakes. Everything that he puts us through is to only better us in the long run. It is only to build up our spirit, and get us ready for that greater test, which is going to come upon the whole world. Verse 3, cleave unto him, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased in the last end. Whosoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a low state. And that's what a lot of Jake ain't out. They ain't patient. Always want everything to happen on their time. And easier said than done. It's not easy being patient, especially when you're faced with so many things all at once. The Lord will sometimes throw many curveballs at you, and you have to learn to endure. You have to learn to pick yourself back up and keep believing, because faith is a major thing within this journey. You have to have faith, even when everything around you, even when you don't have the answers, even when the you ask yourself, Lord, like, how am I gonna get out of the situation? How am I gonna make it through? But you just have to continue to trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, because he's gonna test us. He's testing all the brothers out there are being tested. Starting from our apostles and elders, we're all being tested. Verse 5, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way upright, and trust in him. So, we got to go through it. We got to go through that fire. And we're gonna go through it more than these other nations out here. These heathens. Also, 2/3 of Israel. Even though they're gonna get their judgment, the 1/3 have to go through that fire. The Lord is gonna, also, put us through it. Verse 6, believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way upright, and trust in him. Ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest he fail. He that fear the Lord believeth him, and the reward shall not fail. He that fear the Lord hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy. Verse 10, look at the generations of old. And that's why I think of Job. He's one that always sticks out to me. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? We're always calling on Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, in the good and in the bad. When we get that big break, when we feel that mercy from our Lord, we give him the praise. We say, Thawada Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And then even when we're going through hell, we're still saying, Thawada Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Baba Kasha, help me get through this hurdle. Let me get over it. And our Lord never fails. He always gets us through it, no matter what. And like I said, times things ain't easy right now. Just like a lot of brothers going through it. We're all going through it. Trust and believe when I say that. We're all going through it. It ain't easy. This is James 1, verse 2. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. That's key thing, is being patient, trusting in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, no matter what. Even sometimes we'll go through things and you just have to laugh. Sometimes sometimes you get upset. Sometimes emotions get the best of us, and then sometimes you just laugh and you're just like, okay, Lord. We're gonna go through another one, go through another test. We gotta level up. Every time we go through these certain tests, these trials, these tribulations, it does nothing but levels up our spirit. Puts that, and sometimes the Lord has to, light a fire under us, to bring something out of us that, that needs to be brought out. And, like I said, like, I'm learning this every single day. Because the tests, that they don't get any easier. It just gets harder and harder and harder. And then the spirit just increases, it increases, the faith increases and it increases. The trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahshai increases. Because in the time of Jacob's trouble, we're gonna have to be, we're gonna have to be sturdy, upon that rock. You know, we can't get shaky. And we have to trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahshai that He's gonna perform miracles. That we're gonna, you know, have somewhere to rest. Have things to eat. Because Jacob's trouble is gonna be no joke. This is Hebrews 12, verse 6. For whom the Lord loveth, He chasteneth. And that's the thing. The Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, the Lord loves his elect. And because He loves us, He's gonna put us through stuff. Just like those of us who have children do the same. Sometimes you have to be harsh on your children because you love them. You don't want them to go astray. You want them to learn. You want them to grow. You want them to mature. That is the same thing that our Lord is doing with us now. Verse 6, for whom the Lord loveth, He chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom He receiveth. If ye endure chastening, the Most High dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? It's looking for a keeper. It's really stuffed up right now. Yeah, so the Most High dealeth with you as with His sons. And those of us that, like I said, those of us that have children, we do the same thing. So that when we are the children of Yahweh Hashem Yahshai. Yahweh Hashem Yahshai. So the Lord is gonna test us as well. Acts 14 and 22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in faith, and that we must through much tribulation enter the kingdom of the Most High. We got to go through it. We got to show Yahweh Hashem Yahshai that we are worthy to make it onto those chairs, that we are worthy to receive those new bodies, that we are worthy to receive that crown upon our head, that we are worthy to escape the serious judgment that is coming upon this place. So we got to go through it. We got to go through it now. And guarantee you, Lord willing, make it onto those chariots. We're going to be thankful for everything that the Lord has put us through to get us right there in that moment. It's all going to, it's going to make sense. Sometimes this shit don't make sense now. Even for myself, sometimes we go through it. You see these other you see these heathens out here. You see these 2/3, and they're doing well. From the outside looking in, you don't know what they're going through internally. They don't got the Ruach HaKodesh. We have that, and that's special. That gets us through the hard times. That man, with this truth is. Man, I lost the verse I had there. What was it? Zechariah 13 and 8. And it shall come to pass that in the land, said the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third part shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Shai, is my power. That's exactly it. We got to be tried. Two-thirds is going to get cut off. 2/3 are going to get judged. But the 1/3, the elect, are going to go through the fire. They're going to be refined, come out perfect. So, you just have to keep. We're gonna keep going through things. It's the chastening of the Lord isn't gonna stop until we make it onto those chariots. So we just have to be strong in the faith. Continue to trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. You know, even when you know, even in really difficult times, even when it gets real hard. Even when nothing is impossible to our power. He is in control of everything, the left and the right. So as long as we're humble, you know, and sincere, the Lord's gonna have mercy upon us. The Lord's gonna have mercy upon us. So that's gonna do it for this video. I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to the sincere, hopeful elect out there. I pray this lesson was edifying. Until the next one, Shalom.